Hello everyone, welcome back to Agent Nagash, which is a channel dedicated to Age of Sigmar. In today's video we're going to be looking at the third article that Warhammer community have put up regarding the Death Battletome titled Legions of Nagash. And the article is titled Legions of Nagash, the Legion of Blood and Prince Vhordrai. Prince Vhordrai is the name character we looked at a couple of videos ago from his Elite War Scroll. Okay, the article starts with Battletome Legions of Nagash is designed to support a range of death armies, depending on which units you like best and how exactly you prefer to bring the Grand Necromancer's Wrath to bear upon your foes. We've looked at the Grand Host of Nagash and the new summoning mechanics ideal for players that love death rattle units and want to crush their foes with a skeletal horde, and the Legion of Sacrament alongside the new Laws of the Dead, which are perfect if you like to soften up your foes with spells before finally eradicating them. Today we're checking out the Legion of Blood, a force that makes some of the most powerful heroes in the game even deadlier, as well as a savage new named character from the book, which will be Prince Vhordrai. Like I say, we've looked at his War Scroll, I think a couple of videos back, in his War Scroll is one of the leaked ones. And if you haven't heard anything about the previous two articles talking about the Grand Host of Nagash and the Legion of Sacrament, I have done videos on those, so if you'd like to go back and watch those before you continue to watch this one, it might give you a better understanding of what the Battletome is going to be like. Right, so for those of you who have already watched my videos, let's continue. The Legion of Blood. The Legion of Blood are Nagash's spies and insurgents. Whole civilizations in the mortal realms have fallen to the Soulblight curse, but should they prove resistant from within, their Neferata, Mortarch of Blood, and Master of the Legion has no quarrels about crushing them in open battle. On the battlefield, the Legion of Blood is the most elite of the Legions of Nagash, making particular use of Soulblight units. Of course, you're still free to use the Soulblight allegiance abilities in the book, but by taking the Legion of Blood you'll be able to benefit from both the wide pool of units available to your army and powerful synergies. The first unique rule for Legion of Blood armies is favoured retainers, representing Neferata's chosen vampires accompanying her to war. So the rule favoured retainers. Add 1 to attack characteristics of all melee weapons used by friendly Legion of Blood and Vampire Lords and Legion of Blood Blood Knights. So just talking about this rule, it sounds quite good, and actually just going over the article again, so it sounds like you will be able to take your Soulblight allegiance with the Legion of Blood special rules as well. I hope that's what it is, because it says you will be able to use both, so hopefully that's what it is. And then the special rule there, favoured retainers. Add 1 to attack characteristics of all melee weapons used by friendly Legion of Blood Vampire Lords and Legion of Blood Blood Knights. That should be pretty good, because Vampire Lords is not just the model on foot or on a horse or with a wing, because it is keyword Vampire Lords, and that keyword is shared with the Vampire Lord on Zombie Dragon, so he should be able to get an extra attack through this, and which sounds a lot better than just your one Vampire Lord on foot, who would just be getting an extra attack for his 3 to hit, 3 to wound, -1 rend, D3 damage. Now your Vampire Lord and Zombie Dragon, presumably it would work for the Zombie Dragon as well. So yeah, that could be pretty devastating to say the least. So that should be quite good, that rule there. Of course, there's a chance that they could update the article like they did yesterday with the Legion of Sacrament. What was quite annoying, because they updated it just after I did a video on it. So hopefully they won't do that this time, saying that it only affects the Vampire Lord on foot. Otherwise that would be quite annoying. So I'm just saying now just to warn you guys, but hopefully it will affect the Vampire Lord on Zombie Dragon as well. And it gives the Blood Knights an extra attack, which is good on the charge, because they've been making quite a few attacks, especially for the shock cavalry role they now have. It's just because the Blood Knights will be gaining this extra attack if they're fighting the Legion of Blood. I hope they don't think that compensates for the fact that you can't bring back a model to that unit in your hero phase, and I hope they don't think that this compensates so they can keep the points the same. I hope they still reduce the points of them, because this does not make up for the regenerating one model to the unit. But we'll have to wait and see for that, of course. So with that little rambling aside, let's continue to the next bit. With every Vampire Lord and Blood Knight in your army gaining an additional attack, you'll be able to combine a unbreakable anvil of Death Rattle skeletons or Dead Walker zombies with a brutal Soulblight hammer. Vampire Lords in particular are superb in Legion of Blood armies, not least because you can equip yours with a range of powerful artifacts. The Amulet of Screams, for example, is a great way to deal with any enemy casters using particular powerful spells. It then goes on to tell us what the amulet does. So, Amulet of Screams. The bearer of this amulet can flood their foe's mind with the tormented howling of damned souls, leaving them terrified and reeling. Once per battle, when an enemy wizard successfully casts a spell, instead of attempting to unbind it, you can declare that the bearer will use the Amulet of Screams. If you do so, roll a dice. On a 2+, the spell is negated and has no effect. Yeah, this is okay. Again, it just depends what sort of army you're fighting. Obviously, if you're going to be fighting Zeech or something and they've got some horrific spells out there, or to be fair, you're fighting Death, which looks like it's going to have some nasty spells as well, this could be definitely a good artifact to take. I think especially in a tournament though where you're not too sure what you're going to be fighting, I think there's going to be better artifacts. As this one is quite situational, definitely, obviously, like I say, it's depending on what army you're fighting. Again, that's the case with a lot of artifacts and a lot of ways you want to build your army, depending on what you're fighting. But because there's some armies out there which just flat don't have magic, like if you fought Stormcast or Blades of Khorne, this artifact is going to have no benefit whatsoever. Unless, of course, one of those armies took an ally. I mean, there's always that case, but... so yeah, to summarise it, it's good if you know what you're fighting and you know you're going to be fighting a magic heavy army. I think this is fantastic, especially if you know they've got quite a nasty spell. But if you're not too sure on your opponent, I would hold back and maybe take one of the others that are going to be available to us. Then goes on to say, on the other hand, if you're willing to risk a dice roll, the Ring of Dominion allows you to attack with one of your enemy's weapons, meaning you'll be able to turn the strength of your opponent's most powerful weapons against them. Just imagine how delightfully evil it would be to cut a mighty Lord of Khorne in twine with his own reality-splitting axe. Okay, so already that sounds to be pretty promising, that artifact. So now we'll see what it says about it. Ring of Dominion. The factored crimson gem upon this ring contains blood of an ancient vampire. Its magic can dominate the minds of lesser beings. When the bearer is selected to fight in the combat phase, you can pick an enemy model within 3 inches of them and roll a dice. On a 5+, you pick a melee weapon that enemy model is armed with, though not one that has a value for one or more characteristics that is given as that little star symbol, which means refer to the chart, or see below. For this combat phase, the bearer of this ring may attack with that weapon in addition to their own. Okay, so this sounds quite good. So if you're especially if you've got quite a sledgehammer of a hero, let's say the Vampire Lord on Zombie Dragon, you gave him this artifact, you're going to be sending them into the big nasties what your opponent's going to have. So by making your opponent attack with one of their weapons, I mean, if you were to fight a let's just say, like a Maw Crusher and a Mega Boss on top, you could get the actual thing to attack itself. And if you picked one of its best things, I mean, to be honest, it's probably going to be the Maw Crusher's Pounding Fist, I believe they're called, to attack itself on a 5+, which is nice because I thought it would be something like this on a 6+, and then it would just be too, you need to be too lucky to try and get it, and it wouldn't be worth it most of the time. But on a 5+, that's a third of the time you're going to be able to do it, and also you get to attack with your own weapons as well, and straight away, by the sounds of things, this isn't your selection to fight with. and then the enemy gets to attack, you get to make them attack themselves on a 5-up, and then you get to attack with all your weapons. So like I say, if you got this on a Vampire Lord and Zombie Dragon, that could do pretty nasty things indeed. Another good thing is that it says a model within 3 inches of them, so it doesn't even have to be the one they're directly engaged in combat. It could be one that's, I don't know, like behind the enemy's line, because a lot of people do is they'll have their good stuff, their elite troops or a monster or whatever, and then they'll bubble wrap it, they'll screen it with whatever is the basic battle line in their army, just so you can't charge it and start attacking their big nasty, and they can countercharge you. However, if you get this, let's say you've got it on the Vampire Lord and Zombie Dragon, you charge the enemy's bubble wrap unit. However, you manage to get within 3 inches of the enemy's big nasty monster or elite infantry or whatever. Even though you're not directly in combat with them, because you're within 3 inches, you can still use that model to target itself, and they can't fight you back. So yeah, I think this is quite a good ability. Of course, it's always tricksy trying to get a 5+ of me, and I don't know how often I'll take it because my dice rolling is particularly not very good all the time, shall we say. I mean, I'd like to think it is, but unfortunately not. So it's a nice ability. It's one of those, when it goes off it'll be fantastic, but a lot of the time I don't think it will go off. But yeah, I mean, it's always good to make the enemy attack themselves, isn't it? It's always funny, and it's something that the enemy doesn't expect. So that's going to be one to definitely try out when the book comes out. Then goes on to say, of course, you'll want some Soulblight heroes in such a force. Making your own Vampire Lords is a lot of fun, but there's also a new named character in Legions of Nagash that we think is well worth trying in your army. So Prince Vhordrai. So this is the one that we've already seen his war scroll for, so we're going to have a idea what he does. There's a picture of him there, and I was right, it is literally just a Vampire Lord on Zombie Dragon, but of course he has to take the lance, and he hasn't got a helmet on. So that's the difference between a normal Vampire Lord on Zombie Dragon. So my current one at the moment actually doesn't have a helmet, so looks like I've got the named character straight away, which is really good because I'll be able to see what this guy is like straight away. So let's see what we have to say about him. Prince Vhordrai is Lord of the Crimson Keep, a spectral fortress that manifests in the realms upon Nagash's command. To the Blood Knights, it is a home away from home that allows them to launch assaults on lands that think themselves safe from the wrath of Nagash. But to Vhordrai, it is a prison. His spirit is bound there in punishment for his attempts to assassinate the Grand Necromancer. Okay, so that's pretty interesting. That's a little bit of backstory there that we didn't know about him. So we knew that he was like the Lord of the Crimson Keep, but that he, in the past, he tried to assassinate Nagash himself. So not exactly the most loyal of servants, shall we say, but I imagine now he's forced to be Nagash's loyal servant. So it says, you'll find Prince Vhordrai works on the battlefield much like a Vampire Lord on Zombie Dragon, because it is exactly the same model, but with a few nifty extra abilities. For one, his dragon Vhordrai, I think it's called Vhordrai, we'll go with that, is infused with the essence of Shyish and deals a lethal deluge of mortal wounds when attacking with its breath, as many as 6 when they're on full wounds. Secondly, Prince Vhordrai combines brilliantly with another Vampire Lord on Zombie Dragon thanks to his Fist of Nagash command ability. So yeah, he must be pretty loyal to Nagash now, as he is the Fist of Nagash. So, command ability, Fist of Nagash. If Prince Vhordrai uses this ability, pick a friendly death hero within 14 inches of him. You cannot choose Prince Vhordrai. That hero can immediately either be chosen to pile in an attack as if it were the combat phase, or if it is a wizard, attempt to cast a spell in addition to any others they can attempt to cast in this phase. Okay, so this is obviously the same command ability we saw his War Scroll have, but as Games Workshop didn't officially put out those War Scrolls, they're showing us this as if it's brand new. If you haven't seen my review of his War Scroll, you can go back to my review of the Elite Scrolls, which I think was about 2 videos back, something like that. So the command ability, yeah, it goes without saying, it's good. It doesn't really support much of the army though. It's quite just making. You're probably going to be putting this a Vampire Lord and Zombie Dragon, or a Mortarch or something like that. You'll make them a lot more effective, but it won't make the whole army as a whole a lot more stronger. So yeah, it's good. I mean, being able to party and attack in the hero phase is always good. I mean, it is better than the alternative you can do with this command ability, which is pick a wizard and it can cast an additional spell. I mean, I wouldn't say that's a write-off, you know, because you'll always be picking something to party and attack twice, because it could be a situation where the only thing you have knocking around, apart from Prince Vhordrai himself, because he can't put the command ability onto himself, is a wizard. So being able to cast 2 spells, I mean, there's perfect times when you've got a Necromancer and you don't know if you should do a Mystic Shield or an Arcane Bolt, and you have to really think which one in between them. So you just end up going with the Mystic Shield, shall we say, to be safe. But now you can do Arcane Bolt as well, or, you know, Van Hell's Dance. It's an extra tool in the box. So it's not a bad command ability, but because he is evidently a named character, as long as the rules are kept the same as they are currently in Age of Sigmar, he won't be able to take an artifact or a command trait. So by him being your general, the command trait is wasted. So you might be better off just making a normal Vampire Lord and Zombie Dragon your general, or a Mortarch. But then again, the Mortarch can't take a command trait anyway. So maybe a Vampire Lord on Zombie Dragon is still going to be the best choice for a Grand Alliance Death Army. But that we'll have to wait to see. It then says, while it might come at the cost of a command ability that helps your wider army, using this will allow you to get the most out of your combat characters. As such, we'd suggest taking the Prince as the general of a more elite Death Army. So yeah, that basically just agrees with what I'm saying, how it is more for a very sort of sledgehammer sort of army, not really for a sort of grindy army, like, you know, Death Rattle and stuff. But, you know, it has its place. So yeah, it's good for them to tell us that as well. And then finally it says, as you can see, if you're looking for a highly specified elite fighting force, Battletome Legions of Nagash is ideal, allowing you to fully harness the power of your top tier characters with a whole range of new abilities and combos. Of course, if you're looking for something a little for subtle, check back tomorrow when we will check out Legion of Night, Nagash's most potent terror weapon, and the army of Manfred von Carstein himself. So that's it. That does sound pretty exciting though, but yeah, it might just be me, but it felt like quite a short one today actually. It might be because we already know quite a bit about Prince Vhordrai and they're, you know, basically acting as if we don't. There's a couple of nifty things in there. I mean, I personally don't. This doesn't excite me as much as the last 2 we've looked at, and which is a shame really, because Neferata is my favourite Mortarch. So that's a shame. But and also they didn't really talk about Neferata much. I mean, they mentioned her a little bit, how she, you know, uses her. She leads the Legion of the Blood into battle and all that sort of thing. But they talked more about, of course, Prince Vhordrai, so it's a shame they didn't talk about her a little bit more. Yeah, also, no, it's good. It just felt a little bit not loads of substance for today, shall we say. But it's probably because it's more of an elite army, so it is just Soulblight, because they only mentioned Death Rattle Skeletons and Dead Walkers as suggesting this to be an anvil to this army, so that's probably why. It's just, you know, an elite army. But yeah, it should be interesting to see it again. Just looking forward to getting my hands on that Battletome to actually be able to analyse the army properly, because this is just a short one-page article. And then on to tomorrow with Manfred von Carstein's Legion of Night. That will be interesting to see because as it is apparently the most potent terror weapon. So I imagine lots of minuses to bravery, which I'm a big fan of, so that should be interesting. I'm actually building Manfred on a Shriegeroth, which is his Dread Abyssal at the moment. So yeah, give me good motivation to finish that model, as there is a bit of a deadline on that. So yeah, so today's article, it was good. It might just be me. It felt a little bit shorter than yesterday. Probably it's just me, but you know, it's still good. Still good to hear information regarding how Soulblight are going to play in the new Battletome. It didn't mention a battalion though, which I really hope there is going to be one, because in the last two articles, the Legion of Sacrament, they've mentioned a battalion that's going to be there, and also in was it the Legion of the Gash? The Grand Host in the Gash, they also said there was going to be a battalion there. And they haven't mentioned a battalion for Legion of Blood. I should think there will be one for them at least, but that's interesting. Okay, so I hope you've enjoyed this video, and I know I've done a couple bit of rambling on about things going a little bit off subject, but if you've enjoyed it, please like, subscribe and comment down below, as that really does help me to produce more videos, especially how more often than not I'm making one video every day. And so yeah, I hope you've enjoyed this video, and if you've got any questions or anything like that, leave it down in the comments. So until next time, thank you very much for watching, and the gash is all, and all is one in the gash.